Hello and well met. Welcome to the first episode of Quadrilateral, our Star Wars actual play, with some cool new faces that you haven't seen before here at the Dungeon Scrollers channel. One of whom is with us. That's May, right there, who plays Vilraza. I think this is actually really cool because the show starts from Vilraza's perspective, if
It
I recall
does. Yeah.
correctly, and it provides a very important through line throughout the episodes. But um, before we get into that, tell us about yourself, May. Oh, and let me say, Joel is also here. He's just kind of like filling in and chatting about Star Wars with us. Most of the cast can't be here because, well, they have lots of jobs that kind of fit in this time period. That's why we recorded all these episodes beforehand, because people can't show up for a live game. So thanks for being here, Joel. And May, back to you. Tell us
All
about
right.
yourself and whatever. Go for
About
it.
myself. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am a Virgo. My favorite color. No, I'm just kidding. So, um,
I mean, if that's
my
what you want to
name.
talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
absolutely.
absolutely can. I can go through my whole star chart if that's what people are into.
Sweet.
Yeah. I am a person I'm new to this, so I'm new to Dungeon Scrollers and I'm new to actual plays. This is the second one I've ever done. So this is they took a big leap of faith in me, and I hope I came through. But I've been playing TTRPGs as well as Star Wars TTRPGs for since like 2006. I was in a Star Wars game for a very long time. And I'm just a big old fan of rolling dice and hanging out and pretending to be a weird alien or a fey creature or something. In real life, I'm a researcher. I have a master's in public health. So I'm always down to talk biostats if anyone else really wants to. Um, I know I just said that. I know there's someone that heard that, like the word biostats, and just went,
I'm
oh,
like,
please,
what?
no.
What?
And probably
Yeah.
somebody was like, oh,
I
Ooh,
have
let's talk
found the
about
correct actual play to watch. Yes.
p values.
Going to be
Like,
very
I,
surprised when the show starts.
I mean, you joke about that, but one of the first episodes I watched of the show, there was you guys were all talking about how Rhiannon was going to do an archaeology episode, and that was one of my college minors, and I was like, I'm going to be back next week. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
it's amazing little hook, people.
Yeah,
Yep.
when she said that, I was like, my undergraduate degree is in anthropology, and I was forced to take archaeology classes. I liked most of them, but some of it I was like, I don't want to be an archaeologist. I don't know why I'm here. But anyways, um, yeah, I also have a loud cat. There's a very good chance you will hear him screaming. His name is Merlin. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, I'm just I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. Um, a little nervous. So like when you said Vilra is like it's who we first open up with. I was really like I kind of had some jitters. And then Jason goes, Vilra's on. And I was like, crap, I thought I had more time. Okay. Nope. Straight to me. Cool. Got it. I can do this. No
Threw you right
pressure.
into it. Yeah.
Right into I was like, maybe start off with like, I don't know, 2 pint. Do that first. Mara, they know what they're doing. But
Well,
then I have to.
So Eric, whose brainchild was this show originally? Was it yours
Hmm.
or?
Mm-hmm.
this was Jason's idea. He really liked the Dungeon Scrollers stuff. He liked the Westgate Irregulars game. He and I are very old friends. Way back in the day, we shared an entry in the table of contents in a Forgotten Realms anthology together. Realms of the Dragons 2. And that was when we first met. And ever since then, like we've been friends on and off. We see each other, and the last couple of years, he came to Gen Con and said, "Hey, how do we do a Star Wars game, like a Star Wars actual play?" And I said, on the Dungeon Scrollers. He's like, I mean, yeah, or on my own thing. And I'm like, let's do it on the Dungeon Scrollers. That would be a really cool thing to add there. And then he got to work on planning it. And this Gen Con, he cornered me and gave me the whole plot. He told me everything that would happen. And he was about 65% on. right? Because there's always a certain amount of randomness.
The player minimum.
But it was very well planned out and very well fleshed out. And yeah, he's the brains behind this whole operation. Um, and he couldn't make it. He's commuting home from work. He'll
Mm.
be here in the chat later, I believe. So
Yes, I believe he
ask him
said
some questions
yeah.
there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like to think that while he had a beautiful, well thought plan, I think it's episode 2, a certain monkey wrench gets thrown by a certain bespectacled someone.
Yeah, that's right. When
That
when
kind
that
of
happened, I was not expecting it, and I was like, "Uh-oh, what's gonna happen now?"
Yeah, there was a slight moment where I was like, oh God, did I just ruin everything? Did I? Oh,
And the
but
answer is no.
no.
Yeah, that it just took us in a slightly different direction, and it led to really good places. So I'm
Well,
so
yeah.
excited.
I am too. It's one of those where I've been it's just been so much fun. We have such a good table. Like I love us. And just yeah.
It was a really good experience, like recording every Friday, 4 Fridays in a row. And then
Mhm.
the last Friday we didn't record because one of us had a migraine, so we pushed it to Sunday morning of that weekend. And that was literally uh like a week and a half ago that
Yeah, oh,
happened.
that's true. Yeah.
Like it
Oh
was the end of
gosh.
October, and yeah, this whole thing just came together really well. And
Yeah,
I'm really excited for people to see it.
me too. I think it's gonna be fun. My fiance has asked, like, oh, how was it? And I'll start to talk about it and I'll go, no, no spoilers. Gotta watch like
Yeah.
everyone else.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think it'll be good. I hope so. Please. And if it's not good, everyone just lie to me and tell me that you liked it. I need that right now, you know?
I have not seen the episodes yet, but
Okay.
but I have been, I'm on the Discord, so I've been, seeing how much you folks are, how excited you are, and how much you're gushing to each other about how much you love the game. So I'm sure that given how much you have enjoyed creating it, I am sure that the audience is going to love it too.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
Very, very much looking forward to it. So, Vilra. Vilra is a aspiring pilot when we
Mm-hmm.
first meet her.
Yeah.
An engineer, kind of gearhead person in the
Yeah.
group.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Star Wars has a lot of that sort of thing. Mechanics and computers and engineering all bundled together. How was it playing that sort of character, that sort of role? Is that a kind of thing that you have done before, or was it like a new stretch for you?
So it is a kind of thing I've done before. So I didn't even realize I was doing it until I did it.
Hmm.
And I was like, I want to play a pilot. And I was like, I did that in my actual Star Wars campaign with my buddies years ago. Although it was a different system. So she was like, someone has to be smart here, and that was her. Someone needs to pass the intelligence checks. And that was her. For this one, it was a little bit different because being mechanically intelligent is different than being like computer intelligent. So like if you ask her to hack something, she can't. But if you ask her to build a computer, she can, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she's the mechanic, not the slicer.
The slicer, thank you. I was like, I know there's a Star Wars
Yeah,
word for it.
totally.
So yeah, she can't slice, but she'll take a wrench to it. So for me, it wasn't too much of a stretch, but I also didn't want to play like the stereotypical pilot, like, yeah, all I do is think about going fast and being cool. And she's kind of a bit of a dork.
Hmm.
I equated her to the drunk girl you meet in a club bathroom who's like instant best friends with you and is your ride or die so fast, and your hype woman. Like she's telling you how good you look, how he doesn't deserve you, and that you're gonna crush it out there on the dance. Like she is just the instant best friend. Because
Yeah. And
everyone
these
needs that.
characters form a very strong, very tight bond that
Mhm.
feels like that. It feels like very close friendships and almost a familial sort of bond among them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
I mean, even if she they were like, I don't know about this whole friendship thing. She'd be like, don't worry, I'll sell you on it. So, but yeah, it is to me, I just like that it was a unique form of Star Wars that was so small and not this whole like, we're not, I think I even said this in our little interview, we're not trying to save the galaxy, we want to save our town and each other. Like, this isn't, so I thought that was really fun to see these more like really human perspective. It was good. Yeah. But yeah, I've played pilots before, which I was like, I really got to branch out and not just keep making the same thing. Although very different if I compare the two. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say human perspective because Vilra is one of 2 characters who is not a human.
This is true. Yeah. She is an Iktochi, which are don't get a lot of, you don't see them too often in Star Wars. So they kind of have an orangey complexion. They have 2 long horns that come down by their chin. They have some like slightly psychic powers and tend to be good pilots.
The only Hitochi that I knew of before the game, and then I read up on it a little bit, was Darth Cognos, who is a character in one of the Darth Bane books.
Oh, okay.
And you know, she's not a pilot or a mechanic in any way, but she has that psychic ability which works with the Force. And there's something about like manipulating memories and stuff. Anyway, really interesting character, although she doesn't show up for very long. She's kind of like a cameo basically in that book. But like, so that was my sense of what this people was like. And then, you know, Vilra, lovable cinnamon roll that she is not at all like that.
No. It also makes finding character art really hard.
It does. It does. Like, you know, the downward pointing horns is very specific.
It's very specific. It's, you know, and also the fact there's, I mean, because, you know, you can find a ton of, you know, humans in Star Wars and Twi'leks in Star Wars. But if you kind of go beyond that, it gets a little dicier. Or it goes into a territory that is not safe for work. Where the artwork is extremely specific and not what you're looking for. Or exactly what you're looking for. But
in the chat, Original Angston said, the tieflings of the Star Wars universe. And I'm like, huh. Yeah, maybe. Like, you know, that's not unreasonable.
That's not unreasonable.
There are a lot of tieflings of the Star Wars universe, though. So
yeah.
Oh man, what was I going to say? I got distracted by that crossover between D&D and Star Wars. Okay, so let's just talk about Star Wars in general.
Sure.
What is it that we like about Star Wars exactly? I mean, there's a lot to like about Star Wars. What is it the piloting and the mechanics stuff that draws you, May, or is it more general?
I do like airplanes and spaceships, so that is a thing that I do enjoy. I don't know. I guess it's just like I can't tell you. I don't know. I mean, I do like Star Wars. Star Wars I've had some ins and outs with Star Wars. We've gotten into some arguments over the years.
I suppose you wouldn't be a Star Wars fan if you had not gotten into some arguments about Star Wars over the years.
Well, it's more just like I sometimes feel like I'm trying to I'm trying to be sold something, and instead of being given a Star Wars show, I'm being sold this. I don't know. It sometimes just feels very odd.
Interesting.
Or it's just there's just been certain shows, and I'm not going to name anything, that I just didn't love, and people are like, well, why didn't you? And I'm like, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. Like,
it just didn't speak to you.
It just it just didn't speak to me. And I don't hate anyone for liking those. You're like, enjoy the media you want to enjoy. It just was like didn't hold my attention.
Well, there's so much Star Wars these days.
So much Star Wars.
There was a long time when we had almost no Star Wars, just like the movies came out, and then that Ewoks movie came out, and there was a Star Wars Halloween or Christmas or whatever special.
Oh gosh, yeah.
2 Ewoks movies.
2 Ewoks movies, right? But that was it, and that was basically all we had, until West End Games bought a license to make RPG material, and they're the ones who invented a lot of things that we take for granted in Star Wars now, like
Really?
Inquisition. The Inquisitors was a thing that West End Games created.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is their fault.
It is.
Okay.
And
I like knowing who to blame.
I seem to think that it's unclear to me whether West End Games created the Night Sisters of Dathomir or just expanded upon the Night Sisters of Dathomir, because I think there's a Night Sister who shows up in one of the Ewoks movies, played by the same actress who plays the lead Mother Superior in the David Lynch Dune movie, which is an interesting connection if you want to talk about your kind of like campy B movie sci-fi stuff. But like, there is a lot that they did to develop the universe. Like, without the West End Games version of the RPG, we wouldn't have the Thrawn series. You know, Timothy Zahn wouldn't have had all that stuff to draw on to write that series. And the Thrawn series is really what popularized the whole expansion of novels. And, you know, obviously Disney has changed it up and kind of like called a halt, took some of the stuff, and then they keep bringing in more stuff, which I think is mostly Dave Filoni. But you know, that stuff is still resonant. It's still part of Star Wars, you know. And so it's an interesting time, and there's a lot of stuff to watch. Some of it works for you, some of it doesn't work for you. Anyway, the point I was getting to with this long rambling aside is that the West End Games D6 edition of Star Wars is the version that we play for Quadrilateral. Because, well, mostly because Jason is an old school gamer, and that's what he knows the best. Like,
good catch on adding school to that.
Yeah, it's true. So, like, he just grew up playing this game and knows a lot about it and its intricacies, and he uses that to craft a very compelling story, I think. So
yeah. Oh, same. I think I was a little skeptical, just because every time something new for Star Wars comes out, I'm always like, I get that sort of skepticism of like, I don't like franchises that force me to watch 1,000 different things before I can understand the new thing. It's like a pet peeve of mine. It's starting to be a problem. So I'm like, okay, am I going to have to go and like watch 8 or 10 movies and a TV show and read a book to understand? And it was like, he was like, no, like, I think Andor was the only homework that was assigned.
Because Andor is the core inspiration of this particular game. It has a very similar feel, although I think our game is even more street level than Andor, right?
Yeah.
Andor still skipped between planets, and there weren't any lightsabers or anything, but yeah, it was still very low scale Star Wars, which is kind of what Quadrilateral is as well. And I think Quadrilateral stands on its own pretty well. Like, if you know a lot about the universe, especially about the Clone Wars and about the dark times, you know, the Empire, then
I've heard of them.
Yeah, you'll pick up stuff, and there'll be Easter eggs that you know, really resonate with you. But a lot of stuff that shows up in the game is set up by earlier stuff in the game.
Right.
So if you didn't know anything about Star Wars going into this, which is basically impossible, but if it's the case, then I think the show would teach you what you need to know, right?
For sure. Like, you could take this and put it in a different like a different system, and it would still, it still works.
Yeah, totally.
It's just cool that we have the Star Wars universe to play in, because there are so many moving parts, and we can kind of decide which moving parts affect us the most or the least, or that kind of thing.
Right.
So,
absolutely. I'm just so excited. This is so good. This is one of the best games that I have been a part of. And and I want to clarify with everybody so that you don't have misled expectations. I am a guest player in this game. I appear in the first episode, but the focus isn't on me and my character. It's on them, on May and the rest of the team coming together. The first episode takes place 20 years before the Battle of Yavin, and so the Empire has not taken over yet. We're still during the Clone Wars, toward the tail end of the Clone Wars. And so you get to see what life is like before the Empire takes over. And it's basically kids on bikes in space, which is just, it's so charming and adorable until it gets really real. And
Yeah.
like,
So that would be shortly before episode 3 ish.
it's kind of around the same time that episode 3 is taking place. Like, I think episode 3 was 18 BBY or so.
I honestly can't
I think so.
remember.
See, I base it on the ages of Luke and Leia, who were 17 or 18 at the time of A New Hope, right? And what was the last thing that happened in Revenge of the Sith? Luke and Leia were born.
They were born. Yep.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. Maybe I should look into it. Oh my God, are we gonna get a Jason?
We've got him.
Hey.
Yay!
All right, everyone, stop talking trash. He's here now.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah. All right. So this is JL Collins, who is the GM for a Quadrilateral game. We were just going over like the West End games and how they developed the Star Wars universe, why we played this version, which I credited to you being an old school gamer.
Yes. Yeah, old school. I got my my first printing, first edition Star Wars the role-playing game from 1987, sitting on the shelf right above my head here. Yeah, it was something that we saw in Dragon Magazine in '89 with an ad coming that it was coming out, or that it had already been out essentially for a year, I guess, at that point. But we saw the ad for it. This was back in like high school, grade 9 for me. 1989. Now that I've dated myself nicely, they had the gray and authentic. It was drastically different from what we had been playing in terms of like D&D and D20. A D6 system, which we playing a little bit of Shadowrun second edition back in those days was at least somewhat similar. Even Shadowrun first edition, I guess, back in those days. It delivered on its promise, which was to be cinematic, fast-paced play to emulate the movies, of which at the time we are emulating original trilogy. That was the goal, and that was what they set out to achieve, and they did that, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah. And we were just looking up like the timeline. I told everybody that it's 20 years BBY, and I just looked up when Revenge of the Sith is supposed to be set, and it's supposed to be 19 BBY. So it's about the same time.
Yeah, 20, and then exactly.
And then there is at the after episode 1, which is going to be broadcast tonight, there's a time skip of 12 years into the future. So it becomes 8 BBY. And so you see the contrast between the Republic ruling over Salashay, the planet that everyone's on, and then the Empire and how they've changed everything over those 12 years. And it's I think it's really resonant, really powerful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're just mostly just being real excited about the show.
I'm glad. I'm glad, and like I said, I'm glad I could at least jump in here for the last few minutes. I look forward to being in chat, enjoying it along with everyone else. Hoping that everyone just enjoys the ride and connects with the characters and has a great time.
Absolutely. So we got about 1 minute before we have to go to our ad break. So any parting words of anything before we get going?
Quadrilateral is a story that takes place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And we could all use a little far, far away these days just to take our mind off of what else is going on in our lives. And that was part of our goal, was just to provide something hopefully entertaining for everybody. And we are so grateful that you could join us for this.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, Thanks, JL. Thanks, Joel, for sitting in and just
Absolutely.
helping me chat with May. And thanks, May. I apologize to everybody for my COVID riddled rambling. I am sick right now, but don't worry about me. I'm doing fine. Sit back, enjoy the story of this thing that we all know and love. And I'm so excited. It's going to be so good. Don't go away. We'll be back with the first episode of Quadrilateral in just a few minutes.